Hello, and thank you for joining your City Council member at this community listening session regarding the city budget. My name is Elizabeth Raich, and I'm the City of Dallas's Chief Financial Officer. It's a pleasure to be with you today. This short presentation will give you an overview and some context of the city's budgeting process. Afterward, you'll have the opportunity to ask questions and provide your input to your City Council member. Community engagement is a vital part of the budgeting process. Our primary responsibility is to all of you as residents and taxpayers of the city. We believe financial transparency and accountability are critical. This series of sessions is the first of several opportunities for public input throughout our budget development cycle. At the end of the presentation, I will share the dates of the upcoming opportunities to further participate. We hope you will stay engaged and provide your input on important issues in the city. We launched our biennial community and business surveys on March 14th by distributing over 5,600 surveys at random. If you receive a survey in the mail, please take the opportunity to fill it out and send it back so that your voice can be heard. Also, please help us spread the word to your friends and neighbors in Dallas to fill out the survey if they receive it. We will also post a brief informal poll on our financial transparency website to gather additional input on the City of Dallas budget. Look for that later this spring. Today, we will talk about the FY 2022-23 budget that runs from October 1st, 2022 to September 30th, 2023. Every year, City Manager T.C. Broadnax proposes a balanced biennial budget to the City Council as part of our commitment to long-term fiscal sustainability. The City Council only adopts the first year of the biennial budget. The second year is a balanced, planned budget that demonstrates the budget and any new programs or staffing it includes can be sustained. We are halfway through the current fiscal year, and we have already begun to work on developing the next budget. We start with the planned budget. We are currently revising our revenue forecasts and talking with city departments about programs or services that may have changed since we planned the budget. Once we know what's changed, the city manager will make decisions on what to present to the City Council in August as his recommendation for the FY 2022-23 budget. So let's talk about our starting point, the planned budget. It totals $4.25 billion and is broken into two parts. First, the operating budget that pays for programs and services day to day. And second, the capital budget, which is where you would find projects like those funded in our bond programs. Under the operating budget, we have circled the orange box, the general fund, because it is usually the one that gets the most attention. The general fund makes up almost half of the operating budget and totals $1.59 billion. It funds police, fire, parks, libraries, and more. Enterprise funds are city services that operate more like businesses. They pay for themselves through fees like water and sewer services, trash and recycling pickup, and Love Field Airport. We do not use property or sales tax dollars to support these services. Additional resources in the gray box are funds like federal relief dollars. Let's dive into the general fund a bit more on the next slide. Funding for the city's general fund budget comes from many different revenue sources. Most of the services the city provides, libraries, parks, streets, code compliance, animal services, emergency medical response, and more, are funded through the property and sales taxes you pay, as well as franchise fees, charges for service, fines, and other sources. Property tax accounts for 57% of general fund revenue, and I would like to provide some detail. There are three factors that affect the property taxes you pay: values set by your appraisal district, exemptions allowed by state law and approved by the City Council, and the rate set by the City Council. Another helpful note is that the City of Dallas only receives about 29% of the property taxes you pay. The rest goes to schools, the county, and other entities. Another major source of revenue for the city is sales tax, which in Dallas is 8.25%, including the 2% local option that is governed and capped by state law. The city receives 1% of the total 8.25%. Now, let's talk about the City Council's 8 strategic priorities. First, because we organize our budget by strategic priority, but more importantly, because a budget is about more than numbers. It's about what we are going to get for the investment. Which programs and services that benefit the community will be funded? I don't have time to tell you about everything we're doing in each area, but here are some concrete examples taken from the current budget. Public safety. The city is working to improve response times by hiring more police officers and firefighters, and continues to increase pay for first responders to attract and retain them. Quality of life, arts, and culture. The city has made investments to clean unimproved alleys, to bridge the digital divide, to expand park access, to provide more teen programming, and to support and hire more neighborhood code officers to increase site inspections. Transportation and infrastructure. We have committed to investing $300 million to improve street conditions on nearly 1,700 lane miles and are working to reconstruct and repair half of the Sidewalk Master Plan's priority projects. Workforce, education, and equity. Last year, the City of Dallas adopted a racial equity resolution which calls for the development of a racial equity plan to address the burdens of inequity that impact communities of color in lower-income neighborhoods. We have invested in programs and services to support residents in crisis by providing mental health services, services to homebound seniors and infants, family violence prevention, youth development, and assistance to childcare and nonprofits. If you would like to see more information on our current annual budget expenditures, please take a look at our Budget in Brief document. We also publish monthly updates on budget activities for the current fiscal year called the Budget Accountability Report. You can find these and many other documents on the City of Dallas's Financial Transparency website. Economic development. Investments in economic development spur opportunity throughout the community. In the past year, the city established a small business center focused on business diversity, including the Minority Women-Owned Business Enterprise Program, workforce development and reentry services, and entrepreneurship programs to support local businesses. Environment and sustainability. The city is honoring its commitments to the adopted Comprehensive Environmental and Climate Action Plan, or CCAP. With equity and inclusion as core values, the CCAP proposes solutions that will improve our natural environment, our educational and economic outcomes, the affordability of our housing stock, and our transportation systems. The CCAP begins to address climate and environmental risk with effective, equitable, and common-sense solutions. Government performance and financial management. One of the most visible services in this strategic priority is 311. Every year, 311 answers about 750,000 calls from residents seeking information and assistance, and we've been adding bilingual agents to better serve our callers. Housing and homelessness solutions. The city contributed $25 million to leverage an additional $47 million in public and private investment for an overall $72 million program that employs housing navigation services, landlord incentives, rental subsidies, move-in kits, and case management to reduce and prevent homelessness. If you would like to see more information on our current annual budget expenditures, please take a look at our Budget in Brief document. We also publish monthly updates on budget activities for the current fiscal year, called the Budget Accountability Report. You can find these and many other documents on the City of Dallas's Financial Transparency website. This slide shows the city's investments organized by strategic priority over time. The blue bars represent the budget for each priority in fiscal year 21. The orange bars show fiscal year 22, and the gray bars represent the planned budget, or our starting point for the upcoming fiscal year 23 that will begin in October. What you see is that public safety is clearly our highest priority and the one in which we invest the most money. In FY21, the budget for public safety was $874.3 million, then $948.7 million, and it's planned to be $994.5 million starting in October. That does not diminish the importance of the other strategic priorities, but it shows you that from a dollar standpoint, Dallas's budget is focused on public safety. Let's look a bit more closely at the planned budget for fiscal year 2022-23. This slide shows the relationship between expenditures and revenues for the upcoming fiscal year. The inner circle is a pie graph of revenue sources I shared previously. The outer circle shows the proportion of budget expenditures by strategic priority that you saw on the prior slide. And as you can see, public safety requires 100% of property taxes and 25% of the revenues from sales taxes. Now that I've shared an overview of the budget and the strategic priorities, what's next in the budget process? The input you give in these listening sessions will help us as we update the planned budget for fiscal year 2022-23. This is the first of many opportunities for public input throughout this process. On May 25th, we have a scheduled public hearing on the budget. On August 9th, we will present the City Manager's recommended budget to the City Council. After that, from August 11th through 25th, we will host a series of budget town hall meetings. And on August 24th, we will hold a public hearing on the budget ahead of our adoption process in September. Once we have adopted a budget, the real work begins on October 1st. Thank you again for participating in this meeting. I would like to encourage you to share your questions and input with your City Council member today and to engage with us as we continue to develop the next city budget. After tonight, you are always welcome to email us at financialtransparency@dallascityhall.com if you have further questions or comments.